So yeah, still plowing forward with my character, my samurai from the land of reeds, I think it is, who I have this time through, as I sort of come to understand his character, have begun to style him after Ogami Ito from the main character from Lone Wolf and Cub. And as I'm continuing to go through these, yeah, I guess we're in pre-game show territory. Continuing through them one by one. Picked this up today, number 12, and it is a good time. It's also really cool to see the covers here are made by are drawn by Frank Miller, as I mentioned in a previous stream, and it's nice to see them becoming a little more their own thing. The earlier covers sort of seem to be mimicking the style of the original illustrations in a way that feels derived, and now they seem to really be coming into their own. So that's good. 1 second, I've got a cat who really wants in. Come on. There we go. But yeah, the main thing to look at for the pregame show this time through is Drifting Detective. So this was a movie that I recently that I discovered kind of by accident. It is I found it on the shelf in a Kinji Fukusaku section of Scarecrow, and I was like, well, this has Chiba Shinichi in it. It's a Sonny Chiba of recently passed away, I believe, martial arts actor. And it's got a young him in it. Fukusaku directed it. Can't miss. And I don't want to say it missed, but it's also not really. It's clearly before either one of them was really doing the main things that they do. To be clear, the martial arts choreography is there. It's not as skillfully framed as a lot of the punches should be in a movie where Chiba's punching. You want to make sure that it lands. You frame it so that it looks like he hits. Then you go back and have a couple of stakes slapping together to imitate the punching connecting sound, and those aren't framed really tightly. It looks a little disorganized, a little bar fighty, which is okay for the grunts to fight, but it's not kind of what you're looking for out of Chiba. But nonetheless, it was fun, and I did get out of it part of what I'm looking for, which is some interesting directorial work. That's what I want to look at. In particular, outdoor nature environment shots. Much of this takes place in snow-covered mountain, and I think I can almost count on one hand how many of these movies, the movies from this period of the genre movies, the Jidaigeki, the noir, the crime movies, take advantage of an outdoor natural environment. I think there's like Lady Snowblood. There's some from the what is it? The Japanese horror anthology by that was an adaptation, I think, of Frenchman's work. There was one of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, but there aren't that many, so this one does, and I'm very pleased to see that. And one of the things that it really takes advantage of by being a black and white movie is it takes advantage of the sharp contrast between the geology, the rocks and everything, and the snow itself. And what's always interesting to me about outdoor cinematography is you have no sort of basically you have to find the framing that is interesting, and if you have an eye for the balance, if you have an eye for symmetry, dynamism, and how shapes and lines communicate, you can find a lot of really surprising shots and frames in a natural environment, and that's what Fukusaku does here, which is what I want to look at. So, like right at the start, the premise is an airplane goes down in the mountains, and the wreck is coroners, forensics come visit it, they make their conclusion, they go away. Of course, this is not a complete viewing of the crime or the accident. Well, I mean, the accident is a crime, of course, but they don't declare it as such. So it is up to private detectives and the relatives to go in and solve the crime. And so here's the sister going up the mountain, and just a very nice, very, very great shot where she is right on the crest of where the mountain sort of starts to curve back into the background. So you have her going up the dark line of the mountain in the background, and sort of very cleanly dividing the frame. The shot is very nice. There we go. Here you have Chiba standing on a rock, and again taking nice advantage of the snow as it's very heavy, very concentrated at the bottom, and then sort of pushes outward. You see, to the extremes, and then the mountains at the top and the land kind of fill in that sort of darker gray, and then there's the sky. So it breaks it up into three very clean segments. And then you have him standing on his rock, with the rock being a sort of out of place element down there with the snow, and him with his white jacket being an out of place element up top. So there's a really nice use of balance into breaking it up into three, sort of distinct regions, and then sort of piercing that with Chiba's stance on the rock, and that's lovely. And one of my favorite parts of this, so Chiba gets a rival, of course. Every good hero in a sort of maybe nondescript detective story gets a rival who is on the other side, but gosh, if we aren't brothers at heart. And so they're having their fist fight down that same mountain that the woman climbed, and maybe it's a different time of day or whatever, but they're fighting on the mountain, the snow-covered mountain. There's that range in the back which creates that black that black bar, and then you have the white of the day above, and they just keep going down, and it's one long sustained shot, slowly going down until the mountains in the background just taper out, and you're just watching these guys just like beat the hell out of each other as they go on down the mountain. And so for a sustained shot for a fight, that mountain and that line actually creates a sort of, I mean, pun unintended, but a through line that makes that whole extended fight make sense, because it really does have kind of a bar fighty, desperate feel to it. Yeah, so that's a great shot. I like that. That's a very Fist of the North Star, Ken and Shin kind of thing. It's great. But yeah, so that's lovely. Very, very nice use of framing there. And then at the end, similarly, using that diagonal slash, it's nice to see that inverted to show that the fight is over. And then there are closer shots where making use of sort of overlapping angles to create a kind of dynamism and to suggest sort of direct your eye towards certain things. And this is the airplane wreckage. You see it kind of like framing the sister as she's running up to it, and that's lovely. Again, you have framing where she is sort of pushed out. There's some mystery there, and again, very nice breakup and division of the screen space into a very small number of segments that have detail in them, and then some very large ones that are just sort of like very solid body, solid colors. And this is another instance of using sort of found geography for framing a moment, where this is Chiba's rival, and they use the mountains here to all sort of point down to where he is, finding that exact angle. And they sustain that even when the shot changes to a different location. So that's a very clear visual idea that they're pursuing. And also nice use of this. Again, I really, really like this thing. So this right here, what it's doing, if you go back to this right here, where you've got like one side of the screen which is completely overtaken with sort of solid block of textures, and then you kind of pop over here, and it's a very similar thing with that rock taking up much of the foreground, and then more detailed stuff happening in a smaller segment. I find that a very compelling composition. And last thing to touch on, it's very funny. Like, Chiba's character is supposed to be like, a goofball brother antagonist, and it's like my hobby is the gun, my thoughts are of cash. This is great. It's great. I like it. Yeah. So, and he's kind of got like this weird sort of vertical suit, pinstripe suit with white boots and dark leggings, and he's got looks like makes me think of like a carnival barker hat and the cowboy chin strap. So yeah, it's a goofy design. Also the perfectly white gloves, for some reason using that to fire a gun and them not being stained. And the final closing shot thing, I think this is again kind of a lovely thing. So Chiba believes that his rival is dead. His rival turns out not to be dead, but he erects a makeshift grave for him, and as the horizontal bar of the crucifix, he takes the guy's handgun and places it there. And it's funny because you understand what they're doing, what they're getting at, but the handgun just has this kind of shape, and it's not quite the straight line that you need to form the horizontal cross of the cruciform. So it's funny, this is also a really nice shot. I like how this is divided up as the guy is going to retrieve it. So, but yeah, it's a pregame show. That's what I was looking at this week. Yo, oh man, pick a place, and yeah, we can get started with some Elden Ring.